hunting and fishing panel, and we'll take a year off, and that's some of the comments that float around. So we were talking to Walter about hunting, and then we decided to go back to real estate, so we got here, so we need to hear what...
David, I thought it was until lunch. I didn't prepare for it. Real estate.
So I need to remind you, we are not talking about fishing and fishing boats.
I can't imagine why you want to talk about real estate. Let me say, that ULI is the finest real estate organization in the world, and I've been involved in it really for longer than I want to admit, this group. So I want to compliment you and Mike Fulton and all the young guys that really have brought this back to San Antonio. This is a great testament to the organization and San Antonio. You guys have done a great job. I was at a fundraiser last night, and a good friend of mine and a good friend of many of you, who's one of the largest retail developers, came up to me and he said, you know, I hope I live long enough to be in a preferred asset development class like apartments. And I said, well, you know, really, during times like this, the only difference between being in the apartment business and the retail business right now is that we just lose money a little slower than you do. But with that, let me say that we are so lucky to be in Texas. If you stayed awake during this presentation, you saw that Texas is really a beacon of hope in the United States right now. It's just amazing. I think to some degree part of it is, I think that we went so far in the tank in the last recession. Jack, you might certainly, a lot of people remember this, but we learned such a hard lesson that as I look out at the markets there, the office market and the warehouse market and the apartment market are pretty well in balance in most of these cities. We've had great growth across the state. That helps a lot, but still, maybe we're a little more disciplined than some of the other parts of the market of the United States. So we're all very lucky to be sitting in San Antonio, Texas, and not some of these other markets. I'm going to run through quickly some of the elements of the San Antonio apartment market and get through that, and then maybe talk a little bit about some of the broader things that are going on in the financing world out there that we're involved in. San Antonio apartment market is in good shape. The projects we built here recently have done spectacularly well. The rents have been way above pro forma. The prices that we've been able to sell the projects for have been way above pro forma. Occupancy overall down a little bit, but it's still very strong. The market's pretty well in balance. There's quite a bit under construction, but absorption's been great. Rents are up and been trending up. So the market here is in good shape. The market in Houston's in good shape. The market in Dallas is in good shape. Austin's doing pretty well. And frankly, the apartment industry right now is, except for maybe a few markets around the country, is in pretty good shape. So, you know, we feel lucky to be in that industry right now. We're obviously a beneficiary of the chaos in the single-family industry right now. There's been some speculation that the shadow market of all the single-family housing around the country was going to put a dent in the apartment business, but we haven't felt it. We're finishing a project, selling a project actually today, we hope, in Phoenix, in the Phoenix market, and that's leased up very quickly, and even in a market where we've got one of the biggest inventory of unsold homes in the country. So it's going to be interesting to see over the next year whether that shadow market of unsold single-family homes really does, in fact, become a problem. So overall, on the multifamily side of the equation, things look pretty good. The issue really, we're also a beneficiary of debt. There's still debt available. Freddie Mac are still in business, thanks to the government bailout. And so they do provide some level of debt that may not be available to other parts of the industry right now. And there's still some equity available. There is a disconnect right now. Construction loans are very difficult to come by. We have projects that we're working on around the country right now. Most of our projects that we're working on are infill projects. Some of them are transit-oriented projects. And, but even then, banks are very tight. They don't really know what to do. No one really knows for sure what cap rates are. The perception is in the apartment industry, the cap rates have moved some, and depends on where you are, what city you're in, as to how much they move. But there hasn't been a whole lot of activity on the sales side, so no one's really tested the market to know exactly what's going on. So the banks aren't sure what to do. So there are banks making loan quotes, but it's a very difficult environment. Equity is used to investing a certain amount of equity in these deals, but banks are no longer generally willing to loan as much as they were in the past. So there's a disconnect there. So we're all kind of juggling around, trying to figure out how to make these things work, and looking towards the future, trying to project where things are going to be out a year or two from now. Starting a project today, if you're looking at a project today, you're looking at really coming online in really essentially 2 to 3 years from now. So that's the kind of forecast you're trying to make. So it's a very interesting time, and I think that really we've seen the second-tier banks in the country, those banks below the Chases and the A's of the world, step up and are providing needed capital to the real estate industry. And they've been active now for the last year and are still active and doing great service for the industry. So I think that really, thinking back of the last recession we went through, it was a deep recession and it hurt a lot. This one has a lot of the same ingredients, but I think we're blessed to be in Texas and in San Antonio. It's time to hunker down, be real conservative, and I think we can all make it through this.
Thank you for those comments.